Hello, today I want to talk about the assessment of effectiveness and public value creation in the PB process. We go through our PB evaluation scheme in a matrix, so to say, and see some examples of the PB case of Bützow from our EmPaci project. But first, let's start from the scratch. The starting point is always for every PB that we talk about some goals, like we want to get citizens into the political decision making, want to get participation out of them, want them to propose, to vote on proposals and so on, and really accept and learn about the rules of political decision making. Want to provide a transparency or a transparent process, and at best case maybe there's some identification of the citizens with the PB process and the municipality. But these very narrative goals are very hard to measure because we really don't know for everything, for every case, what are indicators for that. So the measurement, when we talk about effectiveness, is very important, because to label something as effective, we need to know what is the goal, so what do we want to achieve, and how the goal is reached. So we have to know something about the impact of certain actions. And when we developed our PB evaluation scheme to assess something like that, we looked at academic literature and did workshops with our partners, with practical users, with our pilot municipalities. What are goals for the PB? And really saw that there are different goals, so that not everybody wants to reach for the same with their PB process, which is the first thing to know. And what is obvious, that process steps in different PB processes look different. So currently there are about 7,000 PB processes in the world, and maybe there are not the same PB process twice in the world. And these different process steps maybe cause different indicators. So what we did is we assigned indicators that we identified from these workshops and from literature to different goals of PB, and then assigned them in a next step to the PB processes. Means that we have a scheme that is adaptable to goals and to process steps and process phases. And that looks like this, that we have the different phases, like the design phase when we set up the PB, how the process should look like and so on. Then the specific proposal phase, where proposals are made, for example, by the citizens or by the administration. Then we have the voting phase, where citizens vote, or maybe the administration votes on citizens' proposals, and the implementation of the processes, of the proposals. And you see, based on the structure and the process design, maybe there are different indicators. And by presenting these indicators phase-wise, so to say, this scheme is adaptable to your PB process. From the process phases, I will talk a little bit about the sub-goals, because when we set up PB, we always read about the number of proposals that are made, the participation rate, the most obvious thing, and the implemented PB budget that is used for the implementation. So that are the basic numbers for a PB process, and we call it the basic set. So if you want to start a PB, that are the numbers that interest you most, and they are all in these table fields or matrix fields here. And from that on, then maybe over time, or maybe even at the beginning, when you really think about what your PB should achieve, your sub-goals or additional goals could be different. For example, you really focus on the quality of proposals. like citizens make proposals, and you really want a high acceptance rate because the citizens make good proposals, use the requirements and understand them and put them into their proposals. For example, there's a budget restriction, or there's a restriction for upcoming costs, or a restriction for topics. And by acknowledge that the citizens make good proposals, they are gonna be accepted and then maybe get later voted on. But first, they are feasible projects. This could be from interest. Also could be interesting to see the innovation, like are there proposals that are not foreseen from the administration, and they really look at the proposal and say, oh, I never thought about that. Or maybe the other case, they see a proposal from a citizen and then know, yeah, that's something we already were aware of, and that will be something we work on, or already started to work on. And so therefore it's nothing new for the administration. So really track these innovation rates, so to say. Another subgoal could be the feedback and the monitoring, what citizens think about the PB process. Are they satisfied? Do they find it transparent? And so on. Really ask citizens for their feedback. And another look, not just on the citizens, is the process delay and the cost efficiency, to look on the administration and see, are there certain tasks that delay the process? For example, the feasibility check of some proposals. Then it could be interesting to see what topic are these proposals from, so that capacities and resources can be used more efficiently in the process and don't have this delay. Also, the same goes with the costs of the PB process. For example, do information events or create information material and so on, and track these costs in the different phases where they are used. For example, to get people to propose, set up, for example, the web page, and so on for the voting. Another big part could be about e-participation, means the online part. Is there an app? Is there an app, or is there a website to propose or to vote? That could be from special interest for some municipalities, whereas other, when they set up PB, are not into that, not focus on online participation, really want to get these face-to-face, then they don't find these necessary to have these set. And the last two are co-creation and inclusiveness, really to focus on developing together the proposals, or further develop proposals that are made by citizens together with citizens or with the municipality. The inclusiveness really focuses on the proposals that are made, who benefits from these proposals. For example, are proposals made for certain regions, certain parts of the population of the municipality that benefit them, and really look at the citizens that really contribute and give ideas to the municipality, give something back. Maybe even propose something that is not for their own, but for other citizens. And that's really to track maybe in these sub goals. With these orange frames, we have some indicators presented that are backed up by an example based on Bützow. So Bützow, as you can see, have the basic indicators in there. They really track the quality of proposals, and they are looking at the cost side. What we have additionally here is that the made in the second run a study on the satisfaction of the citizens, really try to get some ideas from the citizens to make the process better. So they are into feedback, not for every phase, but at the end of the process, after maybe the implementation, what should be done better for the next time. Also, we look on some data regarding the process and the online part of the PB process, which here is just a website of the administration with a special part in that for the PB process. So there's not an own standalone version for the PB process, and therefore it's just a small evaluation of that. But let's start with the first part, the proposal phase. So to get some indicators for the proposal phase, we already talked about it, the number of proposals, maybe the number of proposals per topic. Are there certain topics that are very interesting for the citizens to really get these basic information? And in Bützow, it looks like that we have in the first year 136 proposals and in the second 140, so very stable numbers for the first two runs. We expect that to decrease over time because citizens see there's something that can't be done, or there's proposals that repeat and then won't get proposed again. So this number maybe comes down over time, but it's really quite a success because in the case of Bützow we talk about a municipality with about 5,500 inhabitants. So 140 proposals is a lot. The main topics are infrastructure and traffic related, sport and recreation related, and go on green areas like planting trees, and maybe science and information means a touristic track with an online app, or signs that remind of certain buildings and tell history about the municipality. So the focus is really on infrastructure things and building something for the most part of the inhabitants, that they can do sports like a skate park or something like that. From the proposal, we go to the voting. So what is voted, really look how many votes do the citizens do in the voting phase, and what are the numbers of voters and the participation rate. And here we see that the citizens got more than one vote, so they could distribute their votes to different proposals as they want. And we see they did 1,921 votes in 2020 and 1,750 votes in 2021. The number of citizens that voted decreased a little bit. The participation rate goes from 7% to 6.4%, which is a respectable number. The goal, which was very ambitious by Bützow, was to reach 10%. So when we talk about evaluation effectiveness, we can say, yeah, it's good, but we don't reach our goal of 10% here. But we have to take in mind, in this year's 2020, 2021, we are talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and the situation as well, which really hampers the PB process, especially offline events, information, and voting events to have. And most of these votings has done online, and this offline part just is reduced, so the decrease could be part of that. Alright, from that we can look at the implementation. I already talked about it, the number of realized proposals and the amount of distributed budget to these proposals are the main indicators for the implementation phase. And what we see from the Bützow results is that in 2020, from the 30,000 euros, just 3 or 4 voted proposals were realized. So we have 75% rate of completed or realized projects or proposals. And the question now is why not all proposals are implemented. And that's where we dive deeper into it and leave the basic set, so to say. So we have the basic numbers that are maybe nice to know how many proposals are voted and how many realized, but we really ask in the evaluation, what is the next step? Why is one proposal not finished yet? And so we have to dive deeper into the delay set in the next step. You can see it here, process delay implementation phase. We really see what is not done after 1 year. The rate of delayed feasibility checks, for example, could be interesting. For Bützow, the case looks like that, which we focus in the implementation really on the one delayed project, and this delayed project as a traffic concept. Which means, especially in Germany, I don't know for other countries, but for the German case, the traffic is something that is not on the municipality level. It's on the state level. So this originally is a proposal that is not really made for a PB process because it requires state level power, and the proposal is delayed. The proposal is delayed because there were several hearings with the proposer who made this traffic concept, speed limit, and so on, and residents that live in this street where the speed limit should be applied, and also with the public administration to really talk about which area of the street or the streets, because it was on not just one street but several streets. And when these hearings were done and the communication took place, the next step was to get permission to do that by address these proposal to the state level departments. And that takes time, and that's the reason why this proposal is delayed. So for the delay proposal, it really is important to dive into the content and what is something to look on, not just for Bützow, but for every municipality, is track these critical topics for a PB process. For example, here it's the traffic concept. If something like that pops up for municipalities, they need to know, okay, this could be something that is delayed because of the high rate of communication, have meetings, meeting requirements, and so on that we delay this process. For the current PB process 2021, there are no data because the voting has took place. Because the voting took place, and we are not in the implementation phase yet. So when we look at the example of Bützow, we see that the satisfaction that was asked in the questionnaire was really high. So nearly 9 out of 11 was the score, which is very respectable, very good satisfaction with the process overall. That was the result from the citizen survey. But there was not just good things, there are also things that should be improved, and the citizens were asked, what do you want to improve, what are your critics, and so on. And one suggestion that was made is to have more time for the voting phase to really look all proposals up, really study them, so to say, look all through, and really, think about the distribution. The citizens had the feeling that it was too short to have just, I think it was 2 weeks to do the voting. Another point which is critically is the uncertainty about the 2020 proposal selection, because there were some citizens that didn't understand how the proposals were selected. And in 2020 there were 30,000 euros, and the citizens voted on the proposals, and there was a ranking of the proposals. And after the three first proposals that were chosen, there was a fourth one which had the maximum amount per proposal, 10,000 euros in it, and should have been done by the ranking. But the budget that was left after the first three was not high enough to implement these proposals. So what the administration did is they looked at the next one, at the fifth place, and that was cheaper. So they implemented a proposal that finished fifth place in the voting instead of the proposal that finished fourth place, just because the fourth place wasn't financially in the budget, but the fifth place was with the left budget after the first three proposals. So they made this decision to not just have budget left and really use 100% of the budget, but the citizens weren't aware of that. So there maybe the communication has to be improved, and the information for citizens about this, because this is very important for the transparency of the process. So from these suggestions and these critics, there could be indications for the PV process design. Maybe increase the voting phase and really emphasize the information on how the process is done in terms of proposal selection if the budget is not enough to implement a project from the ranking and step to the next one that is in the remaining budget, so to say. So there's just one last evaluation missing of the sub-goal of the online tool of Bützow, which is just the web page of the public administration. And for that, the implementation or the evaluation of the implementation of the online tool is very limited. But first, from the theoretical standpoint, what is suggested as indicators from our PB evaluation scheme could be, for example, the number of active citizens if you have a real PB platform, like how many citizens suggest, how many comment, how many are voting over the platform. Then if there's a high controversy of some proposals, are there comments on the implementation of such proposals, positives or negatives? So really evaluate the implementation phase of the project that is discussed online. For the Bützow case, we put it in the implementation phase because it's the overall evaluation of the website. And what we see for the Bützow case is that in general, in comparison to the pre-PB phase, that the number of visitors increased, the length of stay reduced, and the page views overall decreased. So that has to be evaluated on a separate basis, because Bützow started to rework their online appearance, and what we see from that is that there were new designs, and to the COVID pandemic situation, citizens want to inform themselves about the regulations that are currently in state or in the municipality of Bützow. So the number of visitors went really up, but the page views reduced because citizens just search for one certain topic, read it, and then leave the page. So they don't click through the whole web page, and Therefore, the number of page views reduces and the length of stay reduces, but the number of visitors increased. And when we just look at the page views of the PB process, which are on a special part of the website, then we see that there's a big increase from the first to the second run. So there were over 1,000 page views of the PB process related sites. So the proposal page, or the voting page, or the information about the implemented proposals. And we keep in mind that Bützow only has 5,500 inhabitants. So this is a respectable number that citizens look up the PB process online. And what is also interesting, the top download from the website of the municipality of Bützow is, since PB has started, the proposal list. So the booklet I talked about that shows every proposal, and a statement of the administration to every proposal is also on there, and this proposal list shows the feasible projects that are for the voting. So really see the list. What can be voted on is the most made download on the webpage of the municipality of Bützow. So you can see some part is pandemic related, but especially this part shows that the web page is increasingly used by the citizens because of the PB process. And with that, that's the short presentation of the evaluation scheme, showing some selected indicators, especially with an example of Bützow. This evaluation scheme has much more indicators to show. It's about 80 indicators. You can look it up at our EmPaci webpage, empaci.eu. Download the complete text file, but also use these as a clickable presentation and really look through what is suitable for your municipality, or really get an idea what PB could look like and what goals could be achieved and evaluated and tracked by certain indicators.